Hi, I'm Lauren Gleason, registered dietitian and board certified specialist in kidney nutrition, and today I'm talking about some sneaky sources of oxalate in the diet. A lot of people are familiar with foods that are high in oxalate, like spinach, for example. If you eat high oxalate foods, but you don't get enough calcium, your body's going to absorb a lot of these oxalates, and then your kidneys have to get rid of them so that oxalates end up in your urine where they form stones. So that's the way that most people are familiar with oxalates ending up in their urine. But what a lot of people don't realize is that there are foods that do not contain any oxalates, but your body can turn these foods into oxalate once they're inside you. And the annoying thing about that is that getting enough calcium in your diet is not going to prevent these kinds of oxalates from ending up in the urine and making stones. So what are these foods? Well, the ones we're talking about today are collagen proteins. So collagen is a special type of protein that is particularly high in the amino acid hydroxyproline. Amino acids are simply building blocks for protein, and different proteins contain different amounts of amino acids. Collagen protein happens to be high in hydroxyproline, and the body can turn hydroxyproline into oxalate. So what kind of foods have collagen in them? For starters, there are protein powders that are just made up entirely of collagen protein. In my experience, these are heavily marketed to women in particular because the theory goes that eating more collagen protein can help your body make its own collagen, which can potentially make your skin appear more youthful and elastic. I'm not going to debate whether or not collagen protein is going to help with any of these things, but I'm just highlighting common places where you might come across collagen. Collagen can be found in various protein drinks and protein bars as well. So if you drink protein shakes or you eat protein bars, I'd give the label a glance to see what kind of protein they use. And then it's completely off topic, but I would glance at your sulfate levels in your 24-hour urine test. And if they're over 30, I would probably rethink whether you even need that protein bar or shake in the first place, because that level of sulfate in the urine is a clue that you might be getting too much protein in your diet. But I digress. Another place you might come across collagen is in bone broth. So bone broth is very high in collagen protein. I remember it getting really popular with the paleo diet, and the paleo diet is really good at giving you kidney stones because it's so low in calcium, but it's usually pretty high in salt, and it can be high in oxalates. But also the bone broth is not helping. Chicken skin's high in collagen. Gelatin is similar to collagen in that it contains a high amount of hydroxyproline. So if you eat a lot of gelatin-based foods, you could be getting a lot of collagen. All of these foods can potentially be causing your body to make higher amounts of oxalate. So what do you do? Do you need to avoid these foods? Well, if I were an active stone former and my oxalate levels were higher than 25 on my 24-hour urine, I would consider cutting them out. The thing with collagen and oxalates is that some people tend to make more oxalate than others when they eat these things. There are genetic sort of variations that influence how much oxalate a given person is going to make when they consume a certain amount of hydroxyproline. Some people are only going to turn, 15% of that hydroxyproline into oxalate. And if you're not eating a ton to begin with, maybe it's not a really big deal. Other people could have a genetic mutation that turns, 50% of hydroxyproline into oxalate. In that case, it could be a little more problematic. From what I've seen in the research, collagen protein is about 23% hydroxyproline and proline. And proline is just an amino acid that can be turned into hydroxyproline. Let's say that you eat 10 grams of collagen protein, which is kind of a typical serving size for some of the powders. That's about 2.3 grams of proline and hydroxyproline based on that 23% number. If your body then turns 15% of that into oxalate, your body just made 34.5 milligrams of oxalate. And remember that anything over 25 is going to increase your risk of developing a stone. And 15% was kind of the low end of how much a person might convert to oxalate. So if you're one of those higher, converter people, this could be a lot higher. So even at the lower end of the oxalate making spectrum, a little bit of collagen protein can add up pretty quickly with oxalates. If it were me, I would cut out the collagen in bone broth and gelatin in addition to making other changes to my diet to reduce oxalate. And then I would get another 24-hour urine. If my oxalate supersaturation was low enough and my total urine oxalate was low enough and I just had, a burning desire to have some collagen, I would consider adding some back in. But then I would get another 24-hour urine test pretty soon after to see kind of realistically what is the impact it was having on my urine chemistry. I've met people who are very passionate about keeping the collagen protein in their diets, so this is the plan that I would recommend for them to go about it. So go take a look at your supplements or your broth in your pantry and see if you are inadvertently eating some of these sneaky oxalate sources. If you see gelatin listed on something small like a vitamin or something like that, I wouldn't worry about that. That's a pretty insignificant amount. But big old scoop of protein powder is a completely different story. If you've got more questions about calcium oxalate stones, please feel free to leave a comment. I read the comments. I use them to help me determine what videos to post next. And if you've found this video helpful, I'd love it if you gave it a thumbs up. And if you want to learn more about kidney stone prevention or get recipes designed for kidney stone prevention, you can sign up for my free newsletter. You should see a pop-up somewhere on the screen inviting you to sign up, and I will also leave a link in the description of this video. Can't wait to hear from you.